Yeah.
Starting off the episode with Hagen having a little sippy cup. We are back, episode 184 of the Skippers View podcast. My name is Brett. Bringing on today, we got OPS Baseball, Ethan Penn joining us, and then Hagen Snell, the man, the myth, the legend, joining us this weekend. So I'm sorry, this weekend. It's already Thursday. I'm considering it the weekend already after my week. But we have a lot of good stuff to bring to you this episode. It's going to be a great episode, I think, because obviously I was in DC all week, and the most baseball news that's happened all season happened all in the last 3 days. We'll start off our proud partner, Chinook Seedery. If you are hungry for seeds and you want to go get some seeds with discounts, use the Skipper's View as your discount code to get 10% off seeds from Chinook Seedery. Very proud sponsor. I'm happy to have them. So, boys, we have a lot to talk about. We got to dive right into this. So let's start. Ethan, let's start one guy at a time here. So 2 legends of the game are now eligible for the Hall of Fame. Let's start with Pete Rose. Charlie Hustle, after postmortem, died last year. This is a real shame that this is happening now after he's dead. What are your thoughts on Pete Rose being eligible? Do you think he's going to get in?
I don't think he's going to get in. I think his accolades alone should allow him to get in, but also he's had some off the field stuff that isn't the best as well. But this is a guy that has the most hits in Major League history. He's played the most games in Major League history. I think he's like a 17-time All-Star, one of the most complete players in his generation and of all time. But yeah, I would say just off the accolades alone, he should definitely get in. But also the off the field stuff, there's stuff that isn't good. So I think just because of the ethical writers and guys that'll vote him in, I don't believe he will get in because of that.
I think you're on mute, Brett.
I am on mute. Hagen, same question to you. Do you think he gets in? I'm sorry, I was bringing up his I didn't want all the clicking going on. So his StatCast page here on Baseball Reference, it's incredible. He's a stud. There's no doubt about the accolades. Do you think he's going to get in or no?
I don't think he will. I think it's nice that he's going to be at least on the ballot for once, but I don't think he'll get in, like Ethan said, just with all the off-the-field stuff and the gambling. I know that's a big... I mean, he was banned from baseball, and then he just gets taken off, whatever. He hasn't played in 40 years, 20, 30 years, whatever it's been, and then he's finally reinstated after he passes away, 8 months later. So I don't think he'll get in. So the writers are they're sticklers about the Hall of Fame, and they don't just let people in, just let them in. I know that his numbers speak for it. Numbers-wise, should be a Hall of Famer, but the guys, the writers, the people that are voting for this, they're just, if they don't like you, if they don't think you're a first ballot Hall of Famer, they won't let you first ballot Hall of Famer, but they'll, after that, it's weird. Some guys who are no doubt Hall of Famers, they don't get in until their 6th year because the writers are just you're not you're not Hall of Famer in your first 2 years on the ballot. So I'm really interested to see though, what percentage of the vote he does get, because I think there'll still be a decent amount of people that will vote for him. I just wonder how much.
Yeah, sometimes the writers are assholes. Someone didn't give Ichiro a vote to make him the second unanimous guy, which was ridiculous. Counting up just right here, in a 24-year career, this guy's finished top 25 in MVP voting 15 times. That's insane. Mm-hmm. Most baseball players are lucky if they make it 15 years. He finished top 25 in MVP voting 15 times. I have no question about the talent. It's the gambling and the relationships, right? And I tend to agree with you guys. I don't think he's going to get in. I kind of think, because he's dead, I think it's almost better that he doesn't get in, because I think it would be a lot harder for the family to deal with this post-mortem of him getting in eventually, just the emotional tear. And I'm sure they want him to get in. I'm not saying that they don't. It just, maybe with his death last year, this kind of just put an end to it. And then obviously this came up this week. So I am interested. We'll see what the vote goes like. But the writers are, they're wild. Some people, how they vote. You never know how someone's going to vote.
And I want to say too, I saw an interview with him, I think it was a few months before he passed, and they were asking him, if you get reinstated, you don't want to be in the Hall of Fame, or there was, I think, something got brought up where if you pass away, if you got put in the Hall of Fame after that, would you want to be in? And he said no. He said, if I pass away, I don't want to be in the Hall of Fame. I don't want it to be I forget exactly what he was saying, but he was saying, I don't want to be in the Hall of Fame if I pass away. Because I feel it should be, if you're living, put me in the Hall of Fame while I'm living.
Yeah, and even to just the talent is obviously there, most games of all time, most hits, 17-time All-Star. you just said top 25. A lot of those years are like 14 out of those 15 years are like top 15 finishes in MVP voting. The talent is obviously there. He's arguably one of the greatest hitters of all time. But when you lie and some of the other stuff aside from gambling that he's been going through or went through, and then them actually confronting him about gambling, him denying it, and then they find a ticket with his DNA on it that he was gambling. It just like, it's really hard for a sport as ethical as baseball for voters and writers to put him in the Hall of Fame when there is definitely a tamper on his legacy for stuff that he definitely could have controlled.
Yeah, we got to talk about the other guy. So this one, I think, it depends how you view it, but I think this one's a much bigger conversation point, right? So I'll let you, Hagen, start with this one. We're going to talk about Shoeless Joe Jackson. For those who don't know, Shoeless Joe Jackson is famously a part of the 1919 Black Sox World Series team that was proven that they purposely lost this series and they were doing it for money because they were pissed at ownership. So, Hagen, what are your are you strongly opinionated on Shoeless Joe Jackson getting in or not, or where's your stance on Shoeless Joe?
I'm going to be completely honest with you. I have no opinion at all because I didn't even know that story. I knew he had somebody who was gambling. I had no idea that's what happened, and that's pretty messed up if you're selling a World Series. So that's.
Ethan, do you have a strong opinion on this one or no?
I mean, no, I know of the story of him like throwing I think it was the World Series at the time and them purposely throwing it because I think they were getting paid under the table too. And I know that surrounding him, there's a lot of like narrative. It's not super factual for some of this stuff. Definitely the throwing the games and stuff like that was proven, but there's also some stuff that is just hearsay. It's the same thing with Rose, not in terms of like what he did, but baseball is such an ethical game to where like, if you've done stuff that's in controversy and it's stuff that you can't control and you weren't ethical enough to do the right thing, they will not let you in. So for that reason, same thing with Rose. I think the accolades are there. I think the player is there in terms of the on-field production. But in terms of the off-the-field controversies and stuff that they were a part of, I don't think so as well.
Yeah, so, and funny enough, I can't make this shit up. I was on Amazon Prime, just like on video on my TV the other day, looking for new stuff outside of Netflix to watch. I'm looking for baseball movies. I see the movie 8 Men Out. This movie, recommend you both go watch it. It's pretty short. I think it's less than 2 hours. It goes in, it's like Charlie Sheen, John Cusack, portraying like Shoeless Joe Jackson, Eddie Seacott, and all these guys who were in on getting paid. They were pissed at ownership. And by the way, I believe his name's Eddie Seacott, but feel free to fact check me on that. He was their best pitcher. And these guys, they laid down, because they weren't getting paid. And their bonus that they were, like in the movie they portrayed, they thought they were getting a nice end of season bonus. And it turns out the owner bought them like a bottle of champagne. And they were like, what the hell? And I understand that. I don't understand if you are a professional athlete to lose on purpose. I just don't get it.
100%.
Sam made a really good point in my text message group with him, that, and they do this in the movie. They emphasize that Shoeless Joe, people called him stupid. Turns out, I think, I don't know his whole background story. Not the most educated person, grew up poor. Yeah, he wasn't the brightest guy in the world. But if you look, the reason why I pulled this up, 1919 was when this World Series happened. Brother, you are 31 years old. You are my age. You're not a kid making a dumb mistake. You're not a 25-year-old making a dumb mistake. You're an adult. I know people vary about their opinions on adult at age 18, adult at age 21, and all that. You're 31 years old. I think that he was more than capable. What he knew what he was doing. And I don't know if he understood the repercussions fully. But again, I'm not going to give him benefit of the doubt on this one. That being said, I think he actually performed pretty well in the series. I think he was kind of against, ultimately, throwing it. It didn't seem like in the movie the way they portray it, and I know it's a movie, but the way they play it is like his heart was not into giving up on purpose, which I get. And like he was peer pressured. Teammates were like, we're going to be pissed at you. And these are his boys. These are his friends. And it'd be like all of us playing, softball together, and we're purposely gonna. I can't even make that analogy because softball's not a World Series. You know what I mean, though? Like if we were all together, we're all friends, and like we all said, like, Hagen, if you don't join us, we're gonna be pissed at you, and you don't want to make us upset. And he, like, it's a tough spot. He was put in a tough spot, and that tells me he had shitty friends and shitty teammates to peer pressure him to do that. At the end of the day, you didn't come forward. You disrespected the game, and you were a partaker supposedly in this. This is over 100 years ago. So I don't think he should get in. I think it's a permanent black mark on baseball. And how many years back did this actually set baseball, right? Like, how many fans were lost at that time? How many generations? Like, and if you lose a fan, like I'm a fan of baseball because of Dean and because of my dad. But imagine my dad's dad, who was probably watching that World Series, stopped watching baseball because of it. Who knows what would have happened? So this is a permanent black mark to baseball, and I got to say no for this. And it is what it is, but I'm going to stick with my opinion on Shoeless Joe. Let's talk about the next big thing. Guys, Twins have won 10 in a row. So, Ethan, are they we were talking about it right before we joined the show. So, Correa, Buxton, obviously, collision today. Buxton, of course, hits a home run, collides, gets a concussion protocol. I don't mean to laugh. The guy just can't stay off the IL list. And it's like crazy. Like, he is the definition of like fire and ice. Like, when he's on the field, he's golden. He's awesome. But he's just not on the field all the time. Guys, are the Twins now, obviously it's still May. What are your thoughts on the Twins? 10 in a row wins. That's no joke.
I'll say this about the Twins. I think they're definitely a solid ball club right now. It is a team where I will believe it when I see it in the playoffs. Until that really happens, they're hot right now. I think they have some solid pieces. Their core is very injury, having them stay healthy. Buxton's looked really good this year. I think even Cody Clemens hit a game-winning home run in the 8th inning to put them ahead to win. I think they're 9th in a row. But until the Twins do it in the playoffs and they show up, I'm not going to believe it until I see it.
Hagen, how about you? Are you a believer in Minnesota?
They're just such a hard team for me because every single year you look at the Twins and you're looking, all right, who's going to win the divisions? And you look at the Twins roster and you're like, how do they not win the division? But we said it before, how many games are Buxton, Correa, and Royce Lewis going to play together this year? And I think it's kind of a funny coincidence that once all three of them are healthy and playing together at the same time, they go on this 10-game win streak, which, even though Correa's been honestly awful for his standards, a 72 WRC plus. Royce Lewis still only has 28 plate appearances, but negative 28 WRC plus. He's hurting the ball club right now, which is, you think on this win streak, it'd be like, all right, you got Royce Lewis is healthy and he's doing what he's doing normally. And Correa's out there playing like a superstar shortstop. It's like they're not really. I mean, we talking even before the show started. I told Ethan, I said Harrison Bader's got a 145 WRC plus. Like,
bro, look at what
I don't
Trevor
care
Larnach
how long it is. It's 145 for Harrison Bader.
Trevor Larnach, I think, back-to-back games with homers too. Like, they're getting production from a lot of guys in that lineup. I mean, Cody Clemens literally game-winning 3-run home run the other day from everyone in the lineup.
It's amazing to watch too, and like even Griffin Jacks, like I know he had an awful start. I haven't checked his numbers recently, but like he's not going to be as bad as he was. So you have some good pitchers there that you can trust. And with that collision that you were talking about, Brett, that is the most Minnesota Twins thing I've seen in my life. Is the team's on a 10-game win streak and your two best players just run into each other.
Dude, of course it's Correa and Buxton. It's like, have you guys seen The Other Guys, the movie? You've never seen The Other Guys with Will Ferrell?
No, I'm not a big movie guy.
Oh my God. There's a famous scene in it where like Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell, they're cops, and like the whole thing is Mark Wahlberg was working security detail for the Yankees and like didn't know Jeter was walking down the tunnel and shot him, and like in the movie they lost the World Series because of this, and like you just hear someone in the background, it's like, you should have shot A-Rod. It's like you should have shot someone else on the team. But like that's exactly where my mind went today when this injury happened. Shame on both of you, by the way. Neither of you guys have seen The Other Guy. That's our next.
I've never heard of it.
I've never.
The Other Guys, Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell.
No.
Go watch it. It's incredible.
No.
Oh my. You guys are, dude. We got some talking to do. Oh my God, it's like one of my favorite movies. All right. Well, Twins are hot. They're 24-20. Another team that's 24-20 in a different Central Division is the St. Louis Cardinals. They were on a 9-game win streak. They're now 9-1 in their last 10. Guys, Cardinals, a little bit different. They've had history of success, right? Compared to the Twins. They're a little bit, like, even with the recent years, and like it's been down the last few years, obviously, but they have pieces, right? And I think their pieces are arguably more exciting than the Twins pieces. So let's run through it. They got Herrera back. They got Jordan Walker, who's still young, and we don't know what he's going to be as a finished product. They have Contreras, and they have Brendan Donovan, who's been excellent this year. They have Mason Wynn, who's a stud. They have Sonny Gray. They got some, bullpen, not bullpen pieces. Well, Helsley, but and Leahy. How do you say his name? Do you guys know what I'm talking about? The reliever?
Yeah,
Yeah. I think it's Kevin Leahy. But they also have guys like Tank Hence and Quinn Matthews in the prospect system, ready to call up for extra pitching. Guys, are the Cardinals, not only are they second place right now in the NL Central, right by a game behind the Cubs, is this a real chance they could take the division this year?
I don't think they have a real shot to win the division here. Like, I know they have some talent on this club. Like, I think they were a very sneaky team because no one expected the Cardinals to really be good this year, but you wouldn't be too surprising if they did. If they were good, I don't think anyone had them at least in the playoffs by any means, with just for how stacked the National League is, especially the wild card. But to me, this is like a win streak where we're gonna look back on this in like August, September, whatever. We're gonna look at the Cardinals' record and we're gonna say, "Remember when they won 10 games in a row?" Like, it just, like, I don't mean to hate on the Cardinals. It just, the Cubs. I'll take the Cubs every single day in that division, even with a very, very shaky bullpen. I'll take the Brewers. I'll trust them that they're going to get right and do their thing.
I mean, the lineup for the Cardinals is always bang. Like, Victor Scott's really good. Wilson Contreras is Wilson Contreras. Lars Nootbaar has been unbelievable the last, I would say, like, couple weeks at this point. Herrera just came back. He was obviously a lot of breakout picks for a couple breakout candidates. Matthew Liberatore has been fantastic. He hasn't even been mentioned on this podcast. Matthew Liberatore is breaking out this year. A lot of usage changes, some different pitch shapes. This was a former top Rays prospect. So this is a guy that is I think he's in his mid-20s or like 27, 28 maybe. It could be wrong. But this is a guy that's taking a step. Andre Palante, I think, is really good too. Like, the strikeout stuff isn't there, but some of his pitches are good. He limits, I think he was like top 5 or top 10 in limiting hard contact. But yeah, the lineup is always going to bang. They're getting production everywhere, and especially if Mason Wynn keeps up this tear that he's been on the last 3 weeks, and Jordan Walker can find his own again. Like, they're definitely shocking a lot of people because this team didn't make, I don't think, a singular move in the offseason. So, like,
One. They made Bill Maton was the only move they made.
Oh, well, yeah, but still, like,
it's been good.
Really, the only time he's been bad was with the Rays, which is so shocking. But yeah, very shocking.
And I think this Cardinals team to me is just, as a Mets fan, I view them so much like the 2024 Mets, where it was, they call it transition years, what David Stearns called it last year, and it was, you're not going to tell your fans they're going to be competitive, but it was more just kind of, let's see what we got here. It was David Stearns' first year there, and it was just kind of a see. Any other year, not giving Mark Vientos that shot. I mean, you're giving guys chances, kind of seeing what you have going, and then you kind of lighting in a bottle, and you go off and you have an amazing run. I think it's kind of how the Cardinals are too, with Chaim Bloom ready to take over next year, where it's almost, I know he's not making any decisions yet, but like, he's definitely got a hand in some things, or at least for the future wise and stuff like that. So I think it's kind of just let's see what we got here. Let's let Jordan Walker play. I know he's not been good at all, but let's let him play. Let's get him accustomed to the big leagues and actually get him some runway for the first time in his career.
I'm going to shock you guys. Liberatore, he's 25. He's younger than we thought. And you're absolutely right, Ethan. He's been a stud. And I'm looking just on MILB right now, the top 100 prospects. Quinn Matthews is the 40th overall prospect in baseball. He's a lefty. He's in AAA. He's 6'5", 190 pounds. He's supposed to come up this year. Tank Hence, I don't think he's projected to come up this year, but I don't hate I think the Cardinals are kind of sneaky good. I really do. Especially Nolan Gorman is a guy who's popped off for a lot of bombs. He's been ass with the strikeouts the last year and a half, and he needs a tennis racket. But when he connects, that guy smokes the ball. If he starts hitting a little bit better, he's their 8th hitter. And you mentioned Victor Scott's pretty solid. He's their 9th hitter. That's not included, and we haven't even mentioned Arenado really, and Arenado's like kind of the center core piece of this team. I don't know. I'm a little hyped for the Cardinals. I'm happy that I think baseball is better when St. Louis is good at baseball, simply put. So I would love for them to continue the success and have a true NL Central like playoff contender. Like the last few years, I feel it's kind of been just the Brewers, and we're never expecting anything big out of Milwaukee. The Cubs have been shaky, and now obviously their offense is loaded. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. What the Cardinals are able to do, but I think they have a lot of interesting pieces into the day. Clayton Kershaw is lined up for a 2025 debut, so he has 5th rehab start on Sunday. And this is a few days ago. I think he's supposed to go this weekend. Guys, how many games is it that Kershaw is going to pitch this year? Over, under 10. Ethan, I'll start with you.
I honestly don't even know how to
That's a
answer
good
that
line.
That's a good question. I mean, the ability's still there. I don't doubt that. Like Clayton Kershaw has still been good, even when he's done usage changes. I know he's relying on the slider more. He's been using it more in his starts, and this is a guy that's changed the way he's pitched. I think 3 times in his career with his velo, steadily declining. I think Clayton Kershaw, when he's on the mound, is still a fantastic pitcher. I don't think there's really an argument against that. It's simply, I would say, other than DeGrom at his best, it's probably the greatest pitcher we've seen in our generation, at least for Hagen and I.
100%.
Yeah, Kershaw, I would say he's got to be considered, like, even I'm a little bit older than you guys, but yeah, I get what you're saying. Like Verlander, Scherzer is more, I think, my generation, just because they're at their end here. But Kershaw,
dude, look at 2013, 2014, 2015. Like, dude, a 183, a 177, and 213 is ridiculous with 301 strikeouts and an MVP, bro.
Yeah,
like
MVP as a pitcher.
That's insane.
Yeah, 3 Cy Youngs. He was an all-star in 2023. He was an all-star in 2022. He's not far removed from being a stud. And like last year, yes, did he have a 4.5 ERA? Sure. It was his worst of his career.
He's got
his
a
3.53. And last year in 30 innings, he still had 24 strikeouts in those 30, a 1.5 whip. It was a bad year. You're right. I think Kershaw, anytime he's on the mound, he is a lethal weapon. So I would love to see, like, even though it's the Dodgers, he's the one guy I could tolerate. Like, besides Freddie, everyone could tolerate Freddie, and like Shohei
Mookie
as well. Yeah, I was going to say, actually, never mind. I'll put my foot in my mouth. Mookie, Shohei, they're all sick. But Clayton Kershaw, is like the one guy, when you think Los Angeles Dodgers baseball, you think Clayton Kershaw.
Right.
He's the one who's been there his entire career. Yeah, you just go to Clayton. He's the sheriff. We'll see. I'm going to tune into the start. I don't have lacrosse this weekend. My season's wrapping up. So, boys, we're back full time. It's going to be great. But excited for Clayton Kershaw to come back to the mound. This one's a hot topic. A-Rod was interviewed this week, and he was asked who does he think is the greatest baseball player of all time. The guy interviewing him, and shame on me for not capturing that, was leading in with Shohei. He was like, is Shohei the best player of all time? And A-Rod turned around and goes, no, it's head and shoulders above, like Jordan-esque. It's Barry Bonds. Hagen, thoughts on Bonds? Is he the greatest player you've ever seen?
Bonds is the one player in my life that if I could go back in history, watch anybody, it's Barry Bonds. In my opinion, he's the greatest baseball player to ever play. I know there's the steroid stuff, but he was a 3-time MVP winner, like a 7-time Gold Glove and a Silver Slugger Award winner before the steroids. You could argue he's a first ballot Hall of Famer before he even took steroids or allegedly took steroids. But I think Barry Bonds, I mean, if you're getting intentionally walked 120 times in a single season, how are you not the GOAT? Like, he's got intentionally walked in the playoffs with bases loaded. That's how good he was.
I think Barry Bonds had more walks or more intentional walks than the 2023 walk leader. That's insane. That's all you really need to say.
I mean, he's got more intentional walks, I think, than a few. Was there a few franchises? I want to say.
I think it's more than the Rays. Yeah, it's more than like 5 or 6 teams. I know it's more than the Rays. Yeah,
dude. Bonds is. And I know baseball is such a hard sport to do a GOAT debate because it's not like NBA. I feel like it's LeBron, Jordan, but like MLB, I think is so hard because you could go. The way I view it is almost like GOAT's position because I feel like it's so hard because how many different facets of baseball there are to even if you said hitter and pitchers, who's the GOATs, I think it's so hard because it's like, okay, well, there's a dude who is one of the best defenders of all time. There's a dude one of the best hitters of all time. But I think if you encapsulate the whole game the game as a whole, Barry Bonds has got to be the GOAT. I mean, everyone knows him for his 762 home runs. He's got 514 stolen bases. His numbers, like, there's a reason why every single year he's still like top 5 in the most viewed baseball reference pages.
Dude, I'm viewing it now.
Me too.
It's
If it weren't
incredible.
for a senile Tony La Russa a couple of years ago, when he was still managing the White Sox, and you wonder why they're in the position they're in, Barry Bonds should and would still be the only player ever in the history of baseball to be intentionally walked with the bases loaded. Let that sink in. They were like, we'd rather give you one run than what the damage he could do from the plate and giving up 2 or more, essentially. Here's his page. It's disgusting. It's MVP. Yeah, a lot of roids, but MVP. And like, you don't do that with roids. Like, Sosa wasn't doing that. McGuire wasn't doing that. Canseco, all these guys who were doing it, they weren't doing it at this level. And it's like, because he was that good.
I mean, dude,
It's gonna be super-
232 walks in 2004 is more than a lot of like the hit leaders that we have nowadays. That's insane. 32 walks in a season.
And I think my favorite Barry Bonds stat that I've ever heard was, I believe it was 2004, where he reached base safely more times than he had at bats that year.
I think it was like if Barry Bonds went like 0 for his last 2,000 or something, he would still lead all time in on base percentage. Like it's insane how. I mean, dude, look at he almost 3 out of those 4 like top seasons, he almost had a 1,400 OPS. Like that is insane. Averaging almost a 1,400 OPS for 4 seasons is incredible.
I mean, dude, he's like Bonds. I'm not even gonna lie. At least once every 2 weeks, I'm checking out like his Fangraphs or his Baseball Reference page just to like, and every single time there's a new number that's like that's absurd to me. Like, there's no other.
863 in 2001. 863? Insane. 863 slug.
And the one it's a little bit old for you guys. I don't know if you guys have heard Dean and I talk about the game MLB Showdown. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. Long story short, strategy baseball card game that was from 2000 through 2005, made by Wizards of the Coast was the company. Essentially, the first 2-3 years of it, no one was it was 1 to 10 on base. And then in 2002, they made super seasons. So if you had a great year, like they would take Hall of Famers and guys and like put them on cards and stuff. And all the way up to 2005, it was kind of like money. It was just inflating on bases numbers in the game. Bonds was the only player, and you played with a 20-sided die, and you essentially were going against a pitcher who had a control 1 to 6. And they'd roll the die. Their number would be the die plus whatever their control was. If it was higher than the batter, it was their advantage. If it wasn't, it was the batter's advantage. Bonds had a 16 on base in his 2003 card. That card to this day is the sexiest card ever. And it's not even like a baseball. It's a MLB Showdown card. It's a strategy card. And like, me and my boys will always joke about that, where it's like, Bonds, man. Like we joke about it all the time because he was so good. It was unreal.
Sorry, just one more last Barry Bonds stat. He's WRC plus, which is adjusted for era too, so it's good to easy to compare. Bonds has 3 of the 4 highest WRC plus seasons in MLB history. I mean, it's technically lower because they like with the Negro Leagues integrated with it, but they only have like 40 games or so. But just, I mean, dude, he's the best hitter of all time. I don't even see like I know Babe Ruth's probably the next that people would say. Like, hate me on this all you want. I hate Babe Ruth. Like, I think Babe Ruth is the most overrated, over talked about player in MLB history.
I agree to an extent too. I mean, he's playing plumbers, but at the same time too, it's like, dude, Barry Bonds has, I think, over 2,500 career walks. That would put him like what, top 50 in hits of all, like that. It's crazy. Like, no, you could even argue, other than like, I would say probably Jordan or Brady, like Barry Bonds is arguably a top 3 to 5 most feared athlete of all time. Like, the stuff that Barry Bonds was able to do in Major League Baseball will never be seen again.
Sorry, I cut you off. What were you saying?
Like, I think he had the season, it's like 260 or 280 walks. Like, that that will never, ever be seen again. Or I think it was 232 is more than, I think, probably the last like 4 seasons of the hit leader. Like he walked that many times. Like it's unheard of how dominant a player has been in a sport than Barry Bonds was in baseball.
Yeah, the only other guy that I could think of with these ridiculous stats is like Wayne Gretzky. And like Wayne Gretzky, and someone, if they want to call me out because I'm wrong, call me out. I'm pretty sure Wayne Gretzky, if you took away his goal total, which obviously was just eclipsed by Ovechkin this season after like 50 billion years in the NHL, if you took away Gretzky's goals, he would still be the all-time points leader based off assist alone, which is like, what? Like, you don't get the name the chosen one. You know what I mean? It's like that's how Barry Bonds was to the game of baseball. Like his stats were so ridiculous. We can go all day talking about Bonds, but I'm gonna switch this up. We got to talk to another guy who's another stud. So Ken Rosenthal commented on this week. Rafael Devers, obviously, he's been creating a lot of media buzz all season long. To his, and I'll set the scene here. To his point, he's been, he signed this contract, 10 years, $313.5 million. He signed through 2033 to stay in Boston. He signed with the intention of he's going to be the third baseman. They go out, they sign Bregman. He's not thrilled about that, who obviously plays the same position. They ask him to move positions to DH. He does. After bitching about it, he does. Now they're asking him to move to first, and he's bitching about it again. I think, Hagen, you said in 2 weeks we'll see him at first base in Boston. But the point is, Ken Rosenthal brought up the fact that him getting traded is not out of the question. It's not as far-fetched as people think. I'll start with you, Hagen. Do you think Devers, there's any shot that Boston's moving him? And if so, name one suitor, one team that it would make sense with all the money that's looped into his contract at this point.
I mean, I don't think there's any way he gets traded at all, but there is a chance only because of, like I was saying, there's just all these issues where it's just, and I know it's like even in the locker room, just some stuff I've seen that it hasn't really been like a cancer in the locker room either. Like all the teammates are still bonding well, at least from my understanding. But Breslow's not the one that gave him this extension. This is not his player. Like obviously it's Rafael Devers. He's one of the best third basemen in baseball offensively, but he's an awful defender at third base. Like he had to have known at some point that he was going to be at least a DH or a first baseman. Obviously, it's different when it's middle of the season, the dude gets hurt and you're moved to first base, and then next season when Costas is back, you just move right back to third. So totally see his point to be mad about it, but I don't see them moving him at all. But it's not a 0% chance in my opinion, just because Breslow, he has no ties to him because he did not sign this guy. And if there was going to be a team, I think it's a little obvious, but the Phillies, just because they need a third baseman badly and they'll take on that money. I mean, the Phillies, Dombrowski, he's known for he'll kind of do whatever it takes to get a championship to your team, even if it just means emptying the farm and leaving you kind of with a shitty farm for the next 8 years or whatever.
Ethan, any strong thoughts on Devers, or you just think it's a no shot he's getting moved?
I mean, I don't know why would you move Rafael Devers? He's one of the most impactful players they've had in their recent franchise histories. Won them a World Series. I don't see that.
And like, I agree with you guys. That was my first thought. I was like, they're not moving Devers. Dean would literally, like, Dean hasn't been on for a while because he's been, just creating stats and other cool shit like that. If he heard me say that I think Boston's going to move Devers, he'd just call me a moron and move on. But they traded Betts. They've traded other players, like that guys who are better than him. Mookie Betts is far better than Rafael Devers ever will be. And they moved him. And like the whole claim that Rosenthal was putting out there, the argument was Marcelo Meyer, who's a top prospect. He could play third base. Who knows what Bregman's going to do if he's going to opt in or out. They have Campbell at second. First base, they can go, like they could either move Bregman there if he decides to opt back in, or who knows what's going to happen. But
I've even seen
who's to say
Roman Anthony could even go and play first base just to get him ABs. But I think it'd be very, very like it would be a rare transfer for Rafael Devers to get moved. And like I said, I think the only to Hagen's point, I mean, me and Hagen have talked about on the pod just with Trout and with other guys, like it would be a team like the Phillies.
Yeah, and like I'm not going to say Seattle, Hagen. I'm not going to say it. But
I
like,
was waiting for you to say it.
I don't know. I honestly, I don't even have a good idea. If Phillies would be one, just because like they're hungry now. It's all or nothing right now. Like they're going for a win, and then they're going to lose Schwarber's contract in a couple of years. They're going to lose probably Wheeler or Nola at some. I don't know the entire contract situation of Philadelphia Phillies. Sue me, but yeah, they're Phillies are notably they're an older team. They have a lot of contracts that are going to expire across the next 5 years, and Devers, that money will probably get better and better, like for him, in terms of like having him. But we can move on because it's a far-fetched idea, but it's just something to talk about. I'm going to let Ethan comment on this as our resident Rays fan. Hero. Probably the best. Is this I don't even know if to this day if it's a fake video or not of that grab he made with the reporter.
It's fake.
Yeah, I thought it was fake.
I've seen two versions of it.
Evan Longoria, legend of the game of baseball. He's finally hanging up the cleats and calling a retirement. He's going to get to retire as a Ray. This is going to happen June 7th in a ceremony. Ethan, you going to the ceremony?
Yes.
Yes.
Other than probably my parents or like my grandparents, Evan Longoria has had a huge impact on my life in terms of baseball. Like, he is the guy that I grew up watching, loving the game of baseball. He's the greatest player in franchise history. If you want to go and look at his rookie year, I don't have the stats in front of me. I had like a whole reference like checklist on it. He's one rookie. I'll post it after this, but he's the only rookie to have like a certain amount of WAR, a certain amount of defensive WAR, 30 home runs. But he had one of the greatest rookie seasons of all time. Helped lead his team to a World Series in 2008. And Evan Longoria is simply put one of the best third basemen that we've seen in this generation. And we saw a little bit with Arizona in the playoffs, some of that playoff magic too, but couldn't be happier for the guy. And I'm glad that, he gets to come back and retire with the Rays. He's just an all-time Rays player and Mr. Devil Ray for sure.
Is this a dumb question? Is he your favorite Ray of all time?
I don't know. I love Junior Caminero, but I would say yeah, but I love Junior Caminero. But yeah, Evan Longoria.
You already had the old bull. Now you're into the young calf. I get it.
Big Junior Caminero.
Like 30 games of Junior Caminero to switch him over.
That's all it took. That grand slam this week was sick.
Yeah, I could talk 30 minutes about the 8-inch inside, 420 feet, 180 off of one of the best closers in baseball. Granted, the stats aren't there right now, but yeah, unbelievable swing.
When you started off with 8-inch, I was like, "Where are you going with this, Ethan?" But Evan Longoria, to go back to it, he's got almost 60 career WAR. He's gonna be. I don't know if 342 bombs, 260 career. The thing is, I don't think he has the postseason accolades, and that's not his fault. But like you said, one of the
very good. I think there is a somewhat case that you can make for Evan Longoria. It might sound stupid, but I think even what Ben Zobrist did in terms of utility players, he probably had a better chance of making the Hall of Fame than Evan Longoria just because of the positional value that he played. But I think Evan Longoria is definitely like a Hall of very good player. Like, he's up there with guys, like a David Wright, just very
Pedroia.
Yep.
I tend to agree. Yeah, he just those big accolades outside the home runs, like just short of 2,000 hits, which sounds so much better than 1,930 hits, right? Like 2,000, just a sexier number. The batting average is not like it's 285, it's 264. But I agree. He's very good, but he's very, very, very good baseball player. We will jump. I don't really have much about the AL East to talk this week. I'll just talk about it now. I'm not going to, pull up the video. Oswaldo Cabrera's injury was gruesome this week for the Yankees. Never like to see that. Ambulance came on the field, had to take him off. It was a horrible sight to see. That's pretty much it for the AL East in terms of like noteworthy stuff. We already hammered in on Devers in that situation. I'm going to skip the Central. We got to talk real quick. One team in the West, the Houston Astros. So, guys, I think this is the most fucked up thing, and I'm using that language because it is that messed up. So this past week, we've had a situation in baseball. This guy whose last game pitching before he made his debut like last week was in 2022 in the World Series. And this pitcher's name is Lance McCullers. He pitched a game. It was pretty solid through like three in a couple. I think it was like 3 1/3 or 3 2/3 innings. And he looked solid. He comes back, gets a loss. It's May baseball. And some jackass supposedly threatened to kill his kids because of the performance. whether you're a troll or you're just you're a dedicated fan, whatever you want to call yourself, a vigilante, there's no place in this for baseball. There's no place for this in sports. Like this is an athlete, and you're threatening kids' lives because a guy lost a game in May. I'm like I'm at a loss for words on this. I don't know if you guys even have anything to comment on this, or just it's fucked up.
I just scumbag. I mean, it's fucked up. I mean, it just these guys are human beings. Like he's making it sound like he wanted to go out there and give up 9 runs in the first inning. Like, dude, like you said, it's May baseball. It's just you're just a piece of shit, honestly. Like if you're saying to someone you're going after their kids, dude, like I just don't do it. Like I'm assuming it's probably from a gambler that was lost money on the game where it's oh you lost your $20, you're gonna go tell the kid you're gonna kill tell a guy you're gonna kill his kid. So it's fucked up.
And like even if you are a gambler, you have like if you're betting that big on May baseball, you got bigger issues in your life, right? You bet big on playoff games and stuff like that. Not on May baseball on a random freaking start from a guy who's been injured for like essentially the last 3 years. Like I don't get it. Ethan, any comments on this, or we feel I could go on and on about calling this guy a scumbag, whoever it was.
I mean, I'd say me and Hagen are probably the biggest proponents on. I think a lot of people forget that baseball players are human beings at the end of the day. They have emotions, they have friends, they have families, they have children, they have families that they care about. And the fact that you're going after this guy's kids after not pitching any professional baseball game in over 2 years is fucking disgusting. I honestly think that this needs to be swept under the rug. Whoever this is doesn't need to be talked about anymore. I think it's truly disgusting. And I think without the internet, this guy never has the balls to say it to his face and never would want to say it to. Troll or not, I think it's fucking disgusting. There's no place in sports. There's no place in baseball. And frankly, there's no place ever where you should threaten a good man's children about a game of baseball when he hasn't pitched in 2 years because you were mad he had a bad start. And the first start that he had, I think blew a lot of people out of the water, except for maybe him and the Houston Astros, because I don't think people expected him even to do that. But going after someone's kids is extremely fucked up, and there's no place in ever to be doing that. It's extremely disgraceful and disrespectful and just disgusting at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think you nailed the head on the nail or whatever the expression is. We're doing a disservice by even bringing this up, and that's my fault. I put it on the agenda, but at the same time, this like we needed to talk about it because people need to know like this is not okay behavior, and if you don't know that, dude, you got a lot of growing up to do. We'll jump to the National League. So the Braves have had a crazy week. I'm going to talk about them for a second. So one, I should have put this at the start of the week, but they had alternated 1-run losses and 1-run wins in 7 straight games. That is the longest streak by any team in baseball history through 7 games to lose and win by 1 run. This is from Opta Stats that it got broken earlier this week with a win. I think they won 5-2 against someone. But interesting fact for the Braves, and they had a lot of news this week because, so they've had 2 key players that have been dealing with injuries the last year, Ronald Acuna and Spencer Strider. So Acuna is on the 60-day IL. He had surgery to repair a torn left ACL last year. So he began a rehab assignment earlier this week. Strider is recovering from a strained right hamstring, and he threw a simulated game on Wednesday, so last night. And it sounds like he'll be back sooner rather than later. He dealt with a whole surgery last year with his UCL. So the Braves, who are currently in the middle of the pack, they're 500 exactly, 22-22 in the NL East. They're about to get some, not just reinforcements. These are the big guns coming back. Who's to say the Braves don't have a fantastic July? And because Drake Baldwin can't stop hitting the ball, like he's Thor's hammer. Good news for Ben and Jeb. That's really what it comes down to. It sounds like a lot of good news is heading their way. Do you guys have anything to take on Strider or Acuna, or we feel free to jump to the next team?
I mean, just bad news for Hagen, really, to be honest with you. I'm sorry that you're going to have to deal with Spencer Strider, Ronald Acuna. And Ronald Acuna Jr.'s first game had an absolute opposite field bomb. He's in the clubhouse chirping up his guys, bringing good energy. And even just real quick, shout out AJ Smith-Shawver shoved again today. He's been fantastic. And this is a Braves lineup right now where Matt Olson's been non-existent for about a week and a half. This team is going to be getting a lot better. And it wouldn't surprise me if they just go on a crazy run, because the Braves are still, regardless of the record, are one of the best teams in Major League Baseball when firing on all cylinders. I don't think anyone would disagree with that statement.
I would agree with that 100%. I mean, I was big. I got a lot of shit from Mets fans this offseason because I said the Braves are going to win this division. The Mets are going to take third in the division. That's what I was saying all offseason. My thoughts have changed on that a bit, but the Braves, this is what I was waiting for, was when Ronald Acuna and Spencer Strider were back. I mean, you need Acuna. Like, the Braves offense is the most bipolar thing I've ever seen in my life. It's offense looking like, all right, the Atlanta Braves, exactly what you expect them to do. And then you score 1 run, no runs on Bailey Falter, and it just I guess I can't say that because Bailey Falter just shut out the Mets yesterday. Wrong example there, but like they lost the series to Pittsburgh. Like the Braves offense is so frustrating to me because the Braves, in my opinion, on paper are probably the second best team in baseball, just talent wise, at least going into the year when you have Strider and Acuna on that team. I mean, it's scary. I mean, the Braves are going to get hot eventually. I know they've just kind of floundered a little bit recently. Just like you said, they just almost like they win every game. They win and they lose. They win, they lose, and they just sit at the 500, almost like the Red Sox last year. But the Braves are going to get hot, and they're going to get up. They're going to cut that lead in the division
for sure. I'm going to jump to the Central just because we're already 48 minutes in, and we got a lot of things to knock out. So real quick, Eddie Rosario, he's on his third team of the year already. He signed a minor league deal with the Brewers. Who knows? You know, Eddie Rosario is a guy. He's a dude. The Cubs, they called up one of their top prospects, Moises Ballesteros, who's a catcher, DH, first base, mainly catcher. I think they're worried about the defense a little bit because his bat's incredible. But they did this as Ian Happ is now on the 10-day IL. So I'm excited to see. This is MLB.com's number 61 overall prospect, according to MLB Pipeline. So good news for the Cubs. They're getting some more offensive reinforcements, it sounds like, for, Ian Happ, who Happer's also a dude. He's a stud. So would love to see Happ come back sooner rather than later, but good news for Moises Ballesteros for the time being. We hammered out the St. Louis Cardinals earlier, and the Brewers have some interesting injuries. I don't know if you guys followed their entire week with Woodruff, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Let's jump to the West real quick, close that out. So the D-backs called up Jordan Lawler, their number 1 prospect. He's the number 4 prospect in MLB, according to MLB Pipeline. He made his MLB debut during the D-backs run to the 2023 World Series, and he then missed a lot of last year due to a right thumb injury as well as a hamstring injury, 2 separate ones. And interesting, Corbin Carroll's a dog, and adding now a top 5 overall prospect with the rest of that Arizona D-back lineup, it makes the West a lot more intriguing, I think, even though the West is already one of the more intriguing divisions in all of baseball. The other thing I saw this week with the Diamondbacks, did you guys see Torey Lovulo get kicked out of his game and what happened?
Rejected the umpires.
It was amazing.
So, I'm mainly, against, these fake baseball, call outs and clearing the benches when nothing ever happens. But he gets ejected and then immediately turns and ejects the umpire. I thought this was great. It was one of the best things in baseball.
He pointed at each one.
Each one.
He didn't do it. He pointed at each one and fucking kicked them out. I think that's totally badass.
I'd love it too. If you're a manager and you're going to get tossed, get your money's worth. I'm a big advocate for that. I hate these managers that get tossed and they just it.
For sure. That was gold. The Dodgers, they had definitely a bunch of things that happened this week, as always. But they were playing the Dodgers earlier this week. The Diamondbacks were playing the Dodgers earlier this week. Freddie Freeman became the 7th player in MLB history to record 900 extra base hits. Let me say that again, 900 extra base hits. And obviously 70 guys have done this and, it's been done before. But, some guys never get 1,000 career hits. Freddie Freeman almost has 1,000 extra base hits. That's how good Freddie Freeman is for those who don't understand what they're dealing with at first base in LA. I did see MLB.com had a article about them pursuing Tucker. I don't think we need to really elaborate on this because the Dodgers are going to be in on everyone. It's just how the Dodgers are going to operate. Do you think there's any chance? I just want a yes, no out of you guys. Hagen, we'll start with you. Does Tucker go to LA this offseason?
There's a chance, yes.
I thought you were going to say no. Damn it, Ethan. What about you?
I mean, of course, there's a chance it's the Dodgers.
Yeah, it's a scary world out there where Kyle Tucker could be a Los Angeles Dodger next year, and it's very real. Like they're
They
not.
could use him too. It's like kind of really the only need they need is a corner outfielder.
Michael Conforto might be kicked out the door, and we could be seeing Kyle Tucker play any position in the outfield.
Yeah, and the thing is, they're not going to be the high bidder. But if you're Kyle Tucker and you're getting a 9-figure contract from the Dodgers, you can't turn that down right away. No matter, I know money is obviously the most important thing here, right? Like, not to him. I'm just saying in general with these contracts, like players are looking to get paid. That's what they do. It's a scary world that Kyle Tucker could be a Dodger. And they also, another thing with the Dodgers this week, they called up one of their top prospect, Dalton Rushing. He's the 15th ranked prospect in baseball. This season in 31 games in AAA, he was slashing 308, 424, and 938. He's a dog.
He's insane. I'm
just going to jump through the injuries. Marcus Stroman for the Yankees, 15-day IL with inflammation to his right knee. This has been going on. We don't know if this was a ghost IL or whatever, but turns out he's having another setback, and then the Yankees go grab a veteran in Anthony DeSclafani. So I don't know what's going on there. I hope he's not injured. But it sucks that the Yankees need pitching. We talked about Cabrera. Do you guys have any big news on Tanner Houck? So he's now 15-day IL. It's due to a right flexor pronator strain. Never good news for a pitcher. I don't even know what the pronator is. Is that in your shoulder? Do you guys know?
I think it's honestly one of the things that happens before someone gets Tommy John.
Ugh, no bueno. Well, bad news for Boston. They have Devers to move. No, I'm kidding. But Zach Eflin, he had a strained right lat. He was activated from the 15-day IL. He started earlier this week, so Baltimore, much-needed pitching coming back. The Mariners announced yesterday that Bryce Miller is going on the IL due to right elbow inflammation. So, Hagen, any strong thoughts on Seattle's rotation? Because with this, I'm assuming even the inflammation, I'm assuming Bryce Miller's probably done for the season or will be out for a long period of time.
I mean, the rotation is, we were talking about with Remy and Kicker Baseball the other day in the group chat, but the rotation now, I know that Kirby's going to be back here soon. This rotation does not look good at all right now. I mean, I want to say they're like a bottom 5 rotation in all of baseball right now too, and that's even with I know you had Logan Evans and Hancock in there, or sorry, not Logan Evans, whatever his name is, and then Hancock. So it's rough, and I saw this one coming a bit just because Miller has said since the very first start of the season that he's felt more sore than usual this year. After every start, he's just not bouncing back like the way he normally is. So it just kind of felt like this was going to happen at some point.
Yeah, no bueno for Seattle. Texas, we talked about this, Ethan. I know you specifically commented on this on an earlier episode this season. Corey Seager is dealing with another hamstring strain, 10-day IL. So this happened to him in late April, and now it's 2 weeks later, dealing with another hamstring injury. Is this the beginning of the end for Corey Seager? And I hate saying that because I think he's like my age. He's not that old.
I mean, I wouldn't go that far, but just in general going into this year, I mean, I think a lot of people, including myself, thought the Rangers were a really good baseball team, but there's also I was very adamant on some of the doubts in terms of the injuries. But yeah, I think Corey Seager is still capable of coming back and putting together a great season. When he's healthy, he's one of the best shortstops in baseball, but the Rangers just have a lot of injury concerns, especially with some of their guys.
Yeah, and Seager just turned 31 at the end of April, but it's 31's no spring chicken. Not for the normal person. We're talking specifically about professional baseball. 31-year-olds, they're 31. The guys don't really play that long into their 30s, typically speaking. He is a generational talent, being said. So I don't think it's the beginning of the end. I shouldn't have worded it like that, but he is. It seems like he's always banged up. It seems like maybe a position change is due for him at some point. I wouldn't be surprised if they move him over the hot corner at some point and let what's that kid's name? Who's the top prospect for Texas? Sebastian Walcott.
Oh, he's insane. He's going to
maybe
be an absolute god.
I don't know if he's ready or not yet, but maybe in a year or two, or whenever he is ready, you put Sebastian Walcott at shortstop and move Seager over to third. Could be a little bit less wear and tear. Who knows? The Angels, they shut down Ben Joyce for the rest of the season. This guy, for those who don't know, where did he hit on the gun this year? Did he hit 107? Maybe 105?
He said 107 was his goal, I think, but I think it was 105. I think it was 104.5 was his highest this year.
So, moral of the story: this is a reliever for the Angels. He has a howitzer of an arm, and the Angels, they have not really elaborated on the injury. They're kind of being a little shady about this. Obviously, it seems like the rest of the season, and it's a shoulder issue. I think it's a significant injury. I hate to see this for a guy who could throw the ball so freaking hard. Pittsburgh, Isaiah Kiner Falefa. By the way, I just found out he was related to Ralph Kiner. Did you guys know that?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know it till they were talking about it yesterday.
Yeah, I didn't know about that either. But yeah, he's related to a Hall of Famer, Ralph Kiner. I have his ball behind me somewhere signed. He was activated for the Pirates. Hopefully, this can help their offense a little bit. I think he's batting like 280 on the year. He's not having a bad year. He's not having a bad year at all when he's been on the field. But we'll jump to Milwaukee just because they have so much going on. So this happened earlier this week. They sent Tobias Myers to AAA. They did this in anticipation of Brandon Woodruff coming up, who's missed all 2024 from shoulder surgery. Then Tobias Myers gets called back to the roster because Jose Quintana goes down with shoulder impingement. And then Woodruff, who they were expecting to make a comeback this week, he's now dealing with ankle tendonitis. They're saying he's going to need another 7 days on the IL, I think. So I don't like it's an ankle. I don't think it's a big issue. It has nothing to do with the shoulder, which is huge. It's not a setback in the shoulder, but Brewers are getting interesting with their moves. You know, signing Rosario up and down with Myers, Woodruff's been here, there, and they still have guys. Logan Henderson got the call up and he's staying up. They have, they have pieces, and Brewers, I think, are going to be right there with the Cardinals in the Central. Once they get these pieces back, hopefully everyone's back by the end of the month. Arizona Diamondbacks, I forgot to mention this earlier. Ketel Marte, he left Wednesday's game, and he claimed it was his own decision. It was general body stiffness, so I don't think this is a big deal. He's supposed to play again tomorrow. We'll check that out by Sunday's episode. I mentioned DeSclafani signed with the Yankees. Rich Hill signed with the Royals.
That'd be pretty. By the way,
yeah.
If he makes a major league appearance for the Royals, he will tie Edwin Jackson for the MLB record of 14 different major league teams.
That's absurd. I did not know that.
Yeah, shout out Rays legend Rich Hill.
Dude, that's almost half the teams in baseball. There's 30 teams in baseball.
Yeah, he's on. Yeah, it's actually crazy. Also, real quick shout out to Tobias Myers. Thank you so much for Junior Caminero. We really appreciate your service.
So I'm looking at this now. His wife, she's married. He has a spouse, and he has one kid, it looks like. Dude, that's a tough life. Significant other, 14 cities? That's wild.
And, there's a lot of them that are, a month or two at a time. It's not like, all right, he spent a full season there. There's a few, especially later in his career, where he's been there for a team for a few months, and then he's somewhere new. Wife
looks like she works at Duke. That's interesting. I'm getting into a deep dive here. It's baseball related. I gotta keep going. Matt Carpenter. Yeah. We'll end. Actually no. This is the last thing, and then I'm gonna let Hagen close out. So Matt Carpenter, he announced his retirement as well. Another legend of the game, legend stash, former Yankee, former Padre. I forget what he was. Also a Cardinal for a long time. I don't know if there's any other teams, but those are the teams notably. And when he came up for the Yankees, it was pretty good. So sad to see the mustache go, but, great career, Matt Carpenter. Congratulations. Hagen, close us out with this stat.
In honor of the Subway Series this weekend, I've been waiting for this moment since the day Juan Soto signed. I think this is one of the most anticipated Subway Series in a long time. We were talking earlier.
You go ever, honestly.
Ever. You could probably say ever. That's what I would say. At least my years as a baseball fan, the biggest ever. Juan Soto in his career versus the Yankees. He's got 34 plate appearances. He's got 5 home runs, a slash line of 310, 412, 862, 221 WRC plus, and a 508 WOBA. So he kills the Yankees in his career, and Juan Soto is also somebody who loves being booed, loves rising to the occasion. He loves moments like these that are going to happen this weekend.
You think they're going to boo the ever-living shit out of him?
Okay, so John Boy put out a tweet. I'll give John Boy the credit on this. They put out a tweet. It's like, we shouldn't boo Soto this weekend. We should just start chanting, we got Trent or something like that. Just
we have Grisham.
Yeah, we have Grisham. Ethan, I don't know if you're aware about this. Last year, I was in a card break with Dean and a few other guys here at the Skipper's View. The same break that I pull a 1 of 5 Aaron Judge card. This is a 1 of 5. The same break I pulled this 1 of 5 autoed Juan Soto Yankee card.
That's not bad at all.
The value on this card took a swan dive off the Salesforce Tower here in Indy the second that happened because is now not worth anything because he'll never play in pinstripes again. It's not worth anything, but it's just like, you know how detrimental as a Yankee fan that is to not only like get Soto's autograph and then it's a 1 of 5 card and then he's just like, nope, going to play for Uncle Stevie. I hope I don't hope anything bad happens to him. It's just like, I hope the Yankees just decimate him, but that's not going to happen. He's going to mash. He's going to do that little Soto shuffle and he's going to crank one this weekend. I think that's a good bet to put down, that anytime home run on Soto each game that he
I think
plays.
it's free money.
I was gonna say I don't bet home run props really at all. I'm betting Juan Soto hit go yard this weekend.
Well, with that, we will be back Sunday. That's the end of the show. Ethan, Hagen, pleasure as always. Thank you boys for joining. Skipper's View is out. Bye.